And good evening, everybody, and welcome to Going Nuclear, full-blown coverage of the land. I am Ethan Greenberg, and alongside of me is my co-host, Mike Rasinski. And there's somebody else in the room there. Mike, who you got?
I got a special guest today. This
Oh,
is
fantastic.
Carter, and I brought him on to talk about his last Little League game that was last week that ended in epic fashion. It was probably the best game I've been to all season. So I'm just gonna ask him a couple questions if that's all right, because he has something to
Go right
share.
ahead. Go right ahead.
So,
I might have to grill him, Mike.
oh, absolutely,
Okay, fair enough.
absolutely. All right. So what was your team name this year?
The Nationals.
The Nationals, and what was your final record?
Like 12-3.
12-3. And how did the last game end?
We won by 1 point.
You won by 1 point. And does that mean you won the championship?
Yeah.
What'd you get for it?
Trophy.
The championship trophy. So 5th grade Little League. But it was more than just winning by 1 point, wasn't it? We had the score was tied 4-4 heading into the last inning. The other team scores 6 runs and is up 10-4. And they have one last chance to bat. And we thought, no way, what a low-scoring game. There's no way this is going to happen. And his team scores 7 runs and wins it 11-10.
On a walk-off. That is
Yeah.
amazing. Wow, that is fantastic, Carter. So now, Carter, is this your first championship?
No.
No? Oh, okay. Well, pardon me. I didn't win many when I was in, I was kind of like all of Cleveland sports. Didn't win many. So I was humbled and enjoyed the ones I got. But so this is not your first championship. How did it feel? Was it better, different than the last one?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you saw the score with your last at bat coming up for your team, what was going through your mind when you looked down the barrel of a big deficit?
I don't know.
Well, that's you don't know. You were the heart and soul of the team, cheering everybody on from the dugout. That's what I saw, at least.
Well, that's impressive. Did you come up with any cheers? Like, we want a pitcher, not a belly itcher, or we want a catcher, not a belly scratcher?
No.
Oh, come on now.
Oh, you have cheers. You just don't want to tell us. I heard lots of cheers this year.
Now, was there any Gatorade poured on top of the coach's head?
Huh?
Any Gatorade on top of the coach's head?
No.
Oh man. Well, we're gonna have to work on that. We're gonna have to. Maybe we'll. What do you think? Would you like some fruit punch Gatorade? I think there are some bets on which color Gatorade, like at least to the Super Bowl, they're gonna dump on the coach's head. We're gonna have to work on that for next season. Okay, Carter?
Okay.
All right. Thanks, bud. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining in, Carter. Mike, that was a treat. So that was awesome that Carter's team made such a great comeback. And I think that's really awesome when you're a kid to be able to do that and really see that, hey, nothing is over until it's over.
Yeah, I love that. That's going to be a memory he's going to have for the rest of his life. I also didn't win any championships when I played Little League, but you still have those great memories of your teams and stuff. And now to have one that he'll have of actually winning a championship, and just the friends he made on the team too, a bunch of kids he didn't know. It was just a real fun season for him.
That is fantastic. That is really good. Lots of great lessons there and memories, as you said. So that's fantastic. Thank you so much for having Carter on. Tell him
absolutely
he's always welcome to bring his insight. We're gonna put him to work.
Absolutely.
That's why we had children, isn't it?
That is very true. Very and good. He was a little distracted as we had the Guardians score on over here on the left. 3-3 right now in the bottom of the second.
Yeah, high scoring affair for the Guardians and the Orioles tonight after last night. And we'll go over that a little bit here. Wow, the Guardians are on a heck of a heater here, just continuing their winning ways. You thought, is there trouble in paradise? They lose 3 in a row and they're back to their winning ways. But definitely want to touch on that here shortly. So we were off for a week or so there. I made the trek to Ohio. Little did I know that you were kind of on my tail a few days later, making it to Ohio. So.
Little did I know as well. It was a spontaneous trip, but I definitely want to hear about yours.
All right. Well, let me give you a little bit of breakdown of what happened here. So first of all, thank goodness I've got, with Jacob almost being 14, Aaliyah having just turned 11, it makes for a pretty smooth car ride, right? And they know that I am I don't know if I would say a stickler, a pain in the butt. I really don't know what you'd call it, but I'm all about like, look, we will stop once. We will get gas, we will use the restroom, and we will eat something. And we do not eat in my car. So
Mm.
on the 8-hour drive, there's not a lot of downtime, as it were. And I also forced them to leave pretty early. I think we were out the door by 5:40 Thursday morning, the 13th. So
You run a tight ship.
I do. I do. I'm a real real I can't use the word that probably most people would call me. I don't know.
We
But
know what you mean.
yes. So
You're a stickler.
yes, well, that's the nicest thing you could say. So yeah, we made it into Ohio Thursday afternoon, and um, so the first thing is I was going up there because I wanted to attend the ESPN Cleveland block party. I had gone to it last year. That was really awesome. And little did I know they had gotten Greg Newsome to come down and be on the morning show, the really big show. But they didn't announce that in advance. Well, this year, as it turns out, they announced they had Denzel Ward coming down. So I asked Jacob, I said, Jacob, do you have a card? Anything, that I could get autographed? And he's like, of all the cards, the random ones we got in like the pack of cards from the stadium last year, his was not in there. So the first things first, we had to hunt down some memorabilia, something that I could take with me to, try and get autographed. So a few stops at the Rally House in Belden Village, and then the Rally House in Macedonia, and we were able to procure a Denzel Ward. It's like a card on a plaque. So I was like, okay,
Hmm.
perfect, no problem. I can unscrew the thing, get the card signed, and we'll be all good. So we did that, and being at the block party, I was down there early, and I thank my mom for watching the kids and hanging out with them. And I was kind of surprised. I wouldn't say disappointed per se, but like knowing that Denzel Ward was going to be down there, I still couldn't convince Jacob that it was worthwhile to stand around all day in the hot sun. And crazy enough, the forecast the night before I go to sleep, it's talking like 40% plus chance of rain. I wake up in the morning, it is sunny, it is beautiful, not one drop all day long. It was mere not even a cloud in the sky for most of the day. I was a little hot. I was a little hot all day there, but it was well worth it. I was able to get Denzel Ward's autograph. Got to
Very
hang
nice.
got to hang out with a lot of, really cool people that are fellow listeners of ESPN Cleveland, of the really big show, of the Next Level in the afternoon. And on Saturday, they've got Paul and Paulus. It's just a good time. And, kind of getting to know some of the personalities there has been really cool. Um, and hopefully, we'll get to have a couple of them come back on the podcast here in the near future, talk to some of the fellows about that, and that would be great. Um, it was much to my surprise. Um, I think that it was maybe late the week before, or actually, it was that week on the show in the afternoon, the 3 to 6 show, the Next Level. They were talking about, oh, who are our like callers and social media Hall of Famers. And sure enough, I was identified as one of the Next Level Hall of Famers, and they had this. I didn't know exactly what was going on, but they had this Walk of Fame at the event. And come to find out, not only did I make the Next Level Walk of Fame, star, I was also on there. Indicated I was like Ethan in Virginia in one and Ethan Greenberg on another, but I was on the really big show Walk of Fame. So I was like, wow, this is pretty prestigious. I feel honored here.
You made it. You made
I,
it.
I made it. Yeah, all my alleged working, being able to sit here and send tweets in the middle of my day really paid off. Really paid off. No, it was good times and just a really great event. And then at the end of the day, kind of funny enough, and I'll try and link this into our Cavs discussion a little later. Um, if you're a member of, so the ESPN Cleveland, they've created a website, the Land on Demand, and you can get that as a subscription. And so you get articles from like Tony Grossi, and there's a couple other things. You can watch video of the shows as they're on and even replay them later. So I saw that there was going to be a brew cruise in the afternoon. And so, but you had to be a member of the Land on Demand. So I decided, okay, I'm just going to sign up for it. I like reading Grossi anyway, and this will be cool. I can go on this cruise. So I was able to get signed up for that in the afternoon because it was really first come, first serve, not just if you were a member of the Land on Demand, but you had to, register for it. So I did so and got to go out on a little brew cruise with the fellas from the Next Level, Emmett Golden, Gerard Cherry, and Jordan Climack, and really a cool experience going out with them. Had a good time talking. Gerard Cherry, if you are not familiar with his playing career, he was a three-time Super Bowl champion with the Patriots, and he's the sideline reporter for the Cleveland Browns. And he had his early years playing, when he was drafted in New Orleans, and he's not so fond of Mike Ditka. If you're a listener of that show, kind of funny stuff. He's hilarious. I mean, just a great dude. So I had an interesting time chatting with him. And again, when we kind of get around to the Browns, talking a little Browns and stuff, maybe I can share a little bit about that story. But I was kind of in the middle of an interesting discussion, Cavs type discussion. So another person on the boat approaches Emmett Golden. He's like, "I think Cavs will draft Bronny." And so this discussion ensues. And so then we're talking about, well, should Bronny get drafted? Is he any good? Blah. I was looking around. I'm like, oh boy, I don't have anywhere to go here because I'm like, I don't know why.
You're on
Voices
a
were,
boat.
yeah, voices were being raised, and I'm like, I don't know about this. So it quickly, it calmed down. Another person was talking to the fella. It was all good, but nevertheless, just a really great time there at the ESPN Cleveland block party. Had a fun time visiting with family, and then kind of to cap it off. And I really want to get your thoughts on your trip to Ohio as well here, specifically in addition to everything else, but on your trip to Progressive Field. So planned to get together with my dad and take the kids and have my brother meet us and go to the Guardians game this past Tuesday. And so first of all afternoon where we were like in Chagrin Falls. We went to lunch. We go to miniature golf. We got hammered by the rain. It just poured. But thank goodness by the time game time came around and out at Progressive Field on the corner of Carnegie and Ontario, it was beautiful, and we made it through that. Um, but it was just a great experience going to the ball game with my dad and my brother and the kids and everything like that, in general. But I want your thoughts about your experience at Progressive Field, and why don't you tell me about your trip to the land?
Yeah, so we ours was a spontaneous trip. I woke up Friday morning and realized that we actually, for the first time in probably 4 months, had nothing on the schedule this weekend. Um, and then I realized that in addition to the Guardians playing Saturday at 4 o'clock, they were filming the new Superman movie in downtown Cleveland. And I thought, how cool. Let me take the older two boys, Carter, who you met, and our 8-year-old Alex, up to Cleveland. We'll make a day of it. Stay with my parents. They live just, in Stowe, just north of Akron. We'll drive up. We'll go see the Superman set. We'll go to a game. We'll come back home, and then we'll drive home Sunday. Real quick trip. So we bought tickets Friday morning, drove up, got into Cleveland at 11 p.m. Friday night, took off around 9 a.m. Saturday, drove up to Cleveland, parked. We did get to walk around the Superman set, which was pretty neat. I was always a little jealous that they filmed Avengers in Cleveland, was it 13, 14 years ago, and I missed that. So I'm like, I'm not missing this. I got some pictures with the boys in front of all these Metropolis signs and police cars that said Metropolis and everything. So when the movie comes out next year, I hope to show them the pictures and see them what they, kind of behind the scenes, and it'll all make sense to them, because at the time they don't even know. I don't think they knew what they were looking at, but hopefully next year it'll make sense. But then we get to the game, and I will tell you, I like what they have done with the place for Progressive
Okay.
Field. When I went a couple years ago, and they did the first remodel, which was a bunch of boxes out in right field, cargo containers. I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah,
They just
the shipping crates.
shipping crates. They just put them out there. I have no idea for what purpose. They just took away seats. I don't know why. I would have, the seats look better than those crates. So they've now actually taken the shipping containers down. They've taken the seats down. They've put a new overhang, and they've made another standing room only standing room area, just like they do on the corner on the right field line, which looks really nice. You can see that in the restaurant they had on the left field line with the glass walls. That's currently under construction to be, I think, another standing room only. I can't wait to see what that looks like. And so I like that they're catering to the younger crowd, and they're getting folks out there. But I also like how that's all outside of the foul poles, and inside the foul poles are just seats, and it's for the traditionalists, it's for old people like us that just want to sit down and watch the game. So I feel like they're threading the needle, and it's kind of nice to have both. They also, by the way, have a very nice kids section up in right field, and they converted one of the suites into like a little playground for the kids, which my kids enjoy. And since it's a converted suite, as an adult, you get a beautiful view of the game too, while the kids are doing whatever they're doing behind you. So I'm a big fan of what they're doing, and I will just end it. It reminded me a lot of the '90s Indians, because we showed up for batting practice. My boys have always wanted to see batting practice. 30 minutes before the gates open, and the gates open 2 hours before the game, and there was already a line around the block to get in the stadium. It was a sold out game. It was just the excitement and the atmosphere just reminded me of what those 400 straight sellouts were like in the '90s, and it was fun to have that atmosphere again, because I hadn't seen that in a while.
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of funny that you brought up what they're doing in the redesign of the ballpark, the replacement of seats with standing room areas, etc. The one thing I did kind of notice is that I saw a lot of people that, even in the seats. Now, granted, the people who are right behind us, they were there on an out of town business trip. Like, whatever their company was, they were in Cleveland for business and they came to the game. And I don't know how many adult beverages they had had, but you had that combination. But I saw a lot of people just yappitying and not necessarily watching the game. Now, granted, we did lose that night, and it wasn't as great of a game, but I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And then within a couple of days, I was reading an article, I think on Cleveland.com, that was talking about how they have aimed, just like you said, to try to meet the needs and wants of the fans, young and old. And I started to feel a little bit better about that. Um, but overall, yeah, it was fantastic to be there, and it's a great energy, something excellent to see um, over there at Progressive Field, kind of rekindling the joy that we got to see there in the mid '90s, and the 454 straight sellouts at Jacobs Field. Um, Definitely good, but I would say it's like the concessions. The best buy there I got was the ice cream. Got my kids. We went to the ice cream. That was good stuff. The other
Regular
thing,
ice cream or Dippin' Dots?
we did not get Dippin' Dots. No, we went to the regular ice cream. Whatever it is, Perry's ice cream. Amazingly, all the ice cream companies you have in Northeast Ohio, like, why not Mitchell's? Why not
Yeah.
Pierre's? No, they've got Perry's. Perry's, I looked up later, is like out of someplace in New York.
Yeah. I already don't like them.
I know. Although they do have good flavors and they are pretty tasty, and it is a pretty reasonable price. But I digress. No, it was a fantastic trip into Ohio, and I was also going to say, got to go down to check out the Hall of Fame Village,
Oh.
which I really hadn't had an opportunity to do. We went a couple years ago in the winter, and it was cold, and it wasn't even as built up now as it was, or built up then as it is now. So that was a really nice experience to go with the kids. And you talk about the pictures, and I hope your kids appreciate them when you can show them you were here and this is what happened. And I don't know, I might be previewing at least one of my gripes of things I'm getting too old for when I find out that my kids are like uh, saying that I'm embarrassing them, or why are you bringing this up, or why are you bringing up these pictures? And I'm like, well, what do you said you don't remember these things. So I'm showing you the pictures that we were there. My daughter said, I don't remember going to the Browns games, or I don't remember going to the Guardians. We were there. Here are the pictures. Oh gosh. I
Just
guess I'm
wait till
gonna
they get in high school, then you'll really embarrass them.
I know. I
But
know.
you
I
need to
don't
make it an art form. Think of things now, and we should have a competition to try to out embarrass our children in high school.
Oh, that'll be fantastic. I don't know. I'm pretty bad. I'm pretty embarrassing. Remember the time, were you part of the group that went to Carl Shearhorn's house on a Friday to watch a movie from all the honors news class?
No, but I feel like I need to hear about this.
I believe we all went there, and I think I may have unintentionally kept us there a little bit longer than folks wanted, because I don't know. I ran my mouth. I mean, which I'm very good at. So I've certainly done some things that are cringeworthy, and I'd like to forget about these things, but unfortunately, I have this thing. It nags at me. But anyway, yeah, I digress. So, what do you think, Mike? The big news. I don't even know what's the biggest news here. What do you think? Cavs. I think the Guardians is obviously phenomenal news. You know
Yeah,
what?
I would vote Guardians only because Cavs got a new head coach. We all know that. None of us know if that's a good hire or a bad hire, and we're not going to know for a year, 2 years down the road. Like I think we all have our opinions. It's fun to read all the writers and the prognosticators think of how Kenny Atkinson's going to do, but we honestly have no idea if he's going to be better than JB Bickerstaff or not. The one thing we do know are the Guardians are good.
Yes, they are. Yes, they are. I mean, this is a huge. We kind of previewed this when we were on last time. Talked about this upcoming road series and how important it's going to be. They're taking on a very good Baltimore team right now, and then Kansas City. They have fallen off a little bit. They're not even in second place right now, as they've been overtaken by the Twins. But nevertheless, Kansas City played us very tough in Cleveland, and they're going to be a tough opponent as we travel to Kansas City. I'm sure that the Guardians are going to get their best from Kansas City. I mean, the types of things we're seeing out of the Guardians, as we've discussed ad nauseum, is just amazing how they're hanging in there and they're finding ways to win despite the fact that their pitching is depleted. Last night, a fantastic performance. I was worried. I got to tell you, when Scott Barlow comes on in the ninth, you know, and I'm like, oh boy, how's this going to go? Because we had no Clase available, no Cade Smith available. And I didn't even realize, and I guess I should have, that Scott Barlow was a closer for the Royals for at least a season, maybe more. And he had some wicked movement on his pitches and struck out the side there. So that was a really great finish. And Bobby, not his smoothest start, not his best start, but only gave up one earned run in 6 innings and gave them exactly what they needed. What were your takeaways from the game last night, and just what they're continuing to do, and what that you think they need to do the rest of this road trip?
Yeah, I love that this is a team that never gives up. Their last two wins have been by one run, and I can't remember how many games they start off behind. It seems to me like they always get down, and they always seem to come back. And if they don't win it, they at least make it close. What are they? They are 18-9 against teams above 500, and there's only 3 teams in the American League that have winning records against teams with winning records, and they've played more away games than home games. So they're going to have a stretch here where they play more at home. So they're in a really solid position. They're just a fun team to watch too. And it's just the hard 90 that the hard 90s that Vogt has them playing, just running everything out, never giving up, and even with a questionable starting rotation, they are still just a fun team to watch. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I hate to go down this path or rabbit hole or whatever it is. It's the same old, Cleveland fan. And my concern or worry is this. So when I went to the game, I saw Tristan McKenzie pitch, and it was not a good outing. Lots of walks, and he got shelled. And then other guys came in from the bullpen. They couldn't throw a strike. Now that seems to be more the exception than the rule with them. But then McKenzie had another rough outing after that, not a strong outing. And fortunately, he was kind of saved by the rain delay. Uh, they got to figure something out. And I think that we're going to see something interesting, whether it be the Cookie Carrasco or Tristan McKenzie. What's going to give here when Gavin Williams is able to return? The Stephen Kwan, he's having a horrible night. He's a big 0 for 2. He's down to 385. What's going on?
Yeah, isn't that an amazing story? I think the last Indians player they said to hit above 360 for the season was Terry Francona's dad back in like the 60s. And now we got a guy that's on pace to do that. It's amazing. This guy, he just hits, and he's not even just hitting singles. He's hitting doubles and homers this year too. Third best OPS behind Aaron Judge and I think Juan Soto or somebody. For a 5'6" guy that plays left field for the Guardians. It's an amazing story. I really hope he can keep it up, and I can't wait till he's actually qualifies for the batting title here. I hate to see this Bobby Witt hitting 321, leading the league, when we know we've got Quan hitting 385, sitting right there.
Yeah, definitely. I'm again very impressed with what he's done, and just overall the lineup. You saw Josh Naylor have some good games at the end of the homestand, which is good to see. Last night, not so much. Last night didn't go his way. That was rough. What he go last night? 0 for 4, and I'm pretty certain, I can't see it on the box score that I'm looking at here. I believe he struck out all 4 times last night. Not so good, and he is not in the lineup here this evening. But that's, again, I'm not worried about that. I think that'll be fine. We'll see what happens. I'm going to enjoy the ride, and I am hoping that if we can, we've got we've got tonight's game, one more game in Baltimore, and then is it a 4-game set in Kansas City that I believe we have coming up here?
We do. So would you consider a 3-4 road trip with these two opponents a success, or do they need to go 4-3 or better?
I'm going to say that I would certainly like to see them go 4-3 or better. It's a statement. It's important. But again, that's all circumstantial. You have to look at what happened and how it all plays out. But yes, on the surface, I'd like to see them finish above 500 for the road trip. Certainly, if they can take the series with Baltimore and then split with the Royals, that would be a really good thing for them to continue the momentum until they get back home. And like you said, over the second half of the season, the remainder of the course of the season, they're going to have a few more home games. And apparently, with that the wind vortex or whatever that's going on in right field, we should be in good shape, right?
We should. And that leads me to one more question for you.
Yes,
How many
sir.
All-Stars? How many All-Stars are the Guardians going to have this year?
Now that's a good question. I brought up the on MLB.com. Now this is as of, I guess, through the end of the day yesterday. So far, I am looking here at, let's see. I think that, let me give you the number that I think. I'm thinking Jose's in and Clase for sure.
Mm-hmm.
I think Quan should certainly. Now, are we talking starters or getting just named to the All-Star team?
Let's do both. How many starters and then how many total All-Stars?
Well, I guess technically Clase can't be a starter.
Right.
So I would say 2 starters. I'd say Ramirez and Kwan.
Okay.
And then I think 4 will make it.
So
I would go with Naylor, Ramirez, Kwan, Clase. And
okay.
actually 5, Bybee.
5. Okay.
What
Who's
about
5?
you?
Who's number 5? Did I
Bybee.
miss? Oh, Bybee. You think Bybee's going to make it?
I think so. I really think he has had a very strong first half of the season on the mound. His numbers are very good. His strikeouts, I think he's definitely done enough.
So I will also go with 5, but my 5th is going to be David Fry at DH, and
Right.
just pulling up his stats right now. So he's in DH. He's hitting 313, 8 home runs, 957 OPS. Jordan Alvarez from the Astros is leading in vote getting. He's 288, so below Fry. 16 home runs, above Fry. 41 RBIs above Fry, but 877 OPS below Fry. I don't have the stats for how many plate appearances. I'm guessing he has more than Fry because Fry's not a full-time player. He's like a 3/4 times-ish player. But he's got good stats, and I would love to see an underdog like him get in, even if he's not starting.
Oh yeah,
get in. That'd be great.
definitely would love to see him get in. It's all going to depend. I mean, I'm looking here. Naylor was 3rd behind Ryan Mountcastle and Vlad Jr. for first baseman. Second base, I mean, we don't have anybody even in the top 10. Third base, Jose is leading by a lot. And then shortstop, no one in the top 10. And as you mentioned, David Fry is 3rd. Amongst the outfielders, Kwan was sitting 4th, just behind Kyle Tucker of the Astros. And as I heard, I don't want to steal this take, but just to repeat it, I think it was Tony Rizzo saying, "Look, we got a guy on the Madden cover. We got Peyton Hillis on the Madden cover. You mean to tell me we can't get some all-stars out there? Come on, man." So I think that's certainly a possibility. David Fry would be great, and we'll wait and see what comes of it here. Whatever it is. I just hope that we're well represented. And I think at the end of the day, the end goal is to get that World Series trophy. And I think that, as we do talk about as I bring up the trophy, I just wanted to bring up last night's Stanley Cup final. Did you get a chance to watch any of it all, any of the playoffs at all, or any of last night's game?
So I watched my first 10 minutes of hockey for the entire season last night, and it happened to be the last 10 minutes of the game because I kind of had to see how it ended. So it drew me in, and I'm not a hockey fan.
Right.
For 10 minutes at least.
Well, sure. And the thing is, it's like for us Cleveland sports fans, we grew up, the closest thing we had the Lumberjacks. And then after the Lumberjacks, left, and then by the time the Monsters came along, I believe we were already out of town. So I don't have much of a connection with them. And again, that's in the AHL. My dad, when he came from England when they left England, they went to Canada, and he lived in Montreal. So I am a Montreal Canadiens fan. So I've always had an interest, although I've never been to have I ever been to an NHL? No, I have never actually been to an NHL game. I will say that when I got to call hockey games for the minor league hockey team down here, the Richmond River Dogs, as part of the United Hockey League, it was amazing to see the game played up close. Even though we aren't talking about the level of these NHL players, the game is so much better in person. But anyway, watching the NHL finals, again, with no dog in the fight, really. What was I going to say? I think the NHL finals established everything that I think the NBA wanted to have happen in their playoffs and their finals. It was an amazing Stanley Cup playoff race. The series between the Panthers and the Rangers, the Oilers and the Stars, the Oilers and the Panthers. I mean, almost making that incredible comeback, for the Oilers. only to lose in game 7. And that was a barrage. Those last 10 minutes, that was a show from the Panthers defense. Bobrovsky, I mean, to hold off the Oilers was just an incredible feat. Um, so I didn't have a dog in the fight. I was kind of rooting for Edmonton just because I don't know. I feel like the Florida Panthers to me kind of remind me of the Marlins.
No
You know,
love for the Marlins.
no love for the Marlins. I
Not
mean,
after 97.
no, definitely not. But they came into the league and they didn't have to struggle for very long before they got a World Series. Obviously, the Panthers have been in the league for about close to 30 years. I don't have the exact number, but I believe they may have come in at about 90 or so. So it's 30 years or so. And I heard this sound clip from the game as it ended, and the home announcers for the Panthers call on the radio, and the Stanley Cup is coming back home, blah, blah, blah. Finally. I'm like, finally? Coming back home? Are you kidding me? You don't know suffering. Give me
Yes,
a break.
that is true.
I'm like, get out of here with that. Get out of here with that business. That's nonsense. But, I feel good. I do have a friend who I've gotten to know via Twitter. She's a Browns fan, but, she lived in Florida. Now she lives up in Cleveland, Sherry. And she's been on the podcast before. She's really awesome. And she's a tremendous Florida Panthers supporter. So I feel good for her. But I think the NBA, they got outdone this year.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, especially with all the stars getting injured during the playoffs, and it was just kind of nobody was surprised that Boston made it and won, and there weren't really any competitive series. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah, not at all. I mean, we were in Cleveland with the end of the NBA Finals, and I think the game, what was it, Game 5? We turned it off at like halftime. We proceeded to play some Uno.
That you spent your time well.
I
Now,
think so.
do you feel bad for Canadians since they haven't brought home the Stanley Cup in like 30 years or whatever it's been?
Right. So the last champion was when we were in 8th grade. So the spring of '93, when Montreal beat the Kings and Wayne Gretzky, and that was awesome. That was awesome. I'm not no doubt. So I was a little torn as to whether or not I would be supportive of Edmonton, because I'm like, do I really want them to be the most recent Canadian team to win a championship or not? I think that for them, obviously hockey is their sport. That is their sport, and they can't sniff the cup.
So poor Canada. So the Raptors, they have an NBA title
Right.
more recently than an NHL title.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the Vegas Knights have had, what, did they win 2 Stanley Cups? I know they've appeared in at least in 2 Stanley Cups, maybe 3, and I'd have to look, but they've won very recently. I'm like, they're an expansion franchise.
Yeah,
What is?
Talk about a Marlins duplicate. Yeah, that kind of pisses you off, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. And then, you know what? And let's bring it back around to Cleveland here. How much does it piss you off when you see these franchises, these expansion franchises, have almost instant success, and such as the Carolina Panthers and the Jacksonville Jaguars had, and then the NFL was like, we got to fix this. So that, when did they fix it? When the Browns are coming back, when the Browns are getting their expansion franchise, and we got like hosed when it came to players being available and who we could get, and that kind of hurt the start of the relaunch of the Browns in '99.
Big time. Yep.
I mean, although we made it back to, well, we were in the playoffs in 2002, so it didn't take long to get back to the playoffs. It was a few painful years, but they did make it back relatively quickly. It's just they made some difficult or interesting moves.
Yeah. If I could plug a book too, Brownstown by Terry Pluto.
Fantastic.
Who is a great read and talks about the history of the Browns and then the troubles with the expansion team when they came back and how they were screwed by the NFL.
Right. And I also read a book, I believe it's called False Start, and that one may have been written by Grossi.
Oh, yes. That yes.
And that's a very good book as well. I think there's even something funny from the Athletic, Zach Jackson, like 100 things you need to know about the Browns before something like that. We saw it in the store. I'm like, tell my kid, like, hey, I know that guy. I know who wrote that. It's kind of like whenever I see something about the Cavs and I see something that Wendy wrote, I'm like, we know that guy.
That's right.
I actually know that guy. I went to class with him.
And an update from the Guardians game, Ramirez just hit a 3-run homer, 8-4 guards over the O's, and Hosey has 4 RBIs.
Oh, fantastic. Thank you for the update. I appreciate it. Is that our 2020 sports ticker?
Exactly. I need to have a little jingle every time.
You do. We're going to have to work on that. We're going to work on the hotkeys here, Mike. We've got some production value that needs to go into this.
That's fair.
But anyway, so that's fantastic. I got an interruption on my phone. I'm like, oh, I got to turn this off. I don't want it bothering me. So I wasn't watching. So I lost track of it there.
I got you covered.
I appreciate it. That's what we got to have. We got to have coverage around the clock here. So now taking a look here at the other big news, we finally get the announcement yesterday that the Cavs have come to terms with. There's an agreement in place, although I don't believe the contract has been signed. Kenny Atkinson is going to be at the helm for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I found out some interesting things. Did you know that he is in the University of Richmond Hall of Fame?
You need to go visit him. Go visit his statue or his bust or whatever they have down there.
I tried to reach out to one of my friends who's, is a big U of R supporter. His dad worked at the university, like in the athletic equipment, something in the athletic department. I did not get a reply from him, but I was going to try and weasel my way in and see if we could find anybody who could talk about Kenny and his time at the University of Richmond. And as you mentioned, there's this discussion, and we don't know what he is going to be. Is he going to be a better coach than JB? I don't know. And I think that you have to measure it not in terms of, like, if you say, all right, we've got Phil Jackson and Red Auerbach at one end, okay, and Greg Popovich down there, all at the one end of Hall of Fame coaches, first ballot, no doubt about it. And then like John Beeline at the other end, there's going to be a lot of people who are somewhere in the middle, right? And we saw it with some different coaches that you don't have to be a Hall of Fame coach to lead your team to a title. Different players respond to different coaches differently. And my thought is that we were at a point, the Cavs, we had reached a point where Bickerstaff wasn't getting the most out of the guys on the roster for whatever reason. Some of it might have been a lack of respect for JB. And if you bring in somebody who is different, is at least, reasonably good coach and surrounds himself with the right people and has a good background, if he connects with the players and gets them to do some different things, because one, if it's a different strategy, two, if they're actually listening to him, then that should yield you better results. You can't guarantee that, right? Who knows what's going to happen with injuries? But it was pretty clear there were times last year, for sure. I saw Donovan Mitchell waving off JB. Like Donovan, JB's telling him to do something. He's like, I'm like, whoa, I don't know. That seems like a very new school thing. I guess this is, me being antiquated, old, where I'm thinking, you don't do that to the coach. Coach tells you what to do. You do it. It's not the way to do it. So we shall see. What did you think when they announced Atkinson as the coach, as opposed to Borrego, as opposed to anybody else's name who had come up in the conversation?
So all the reading I've done is Borrego and Atkinson were the top two choices. So the fact that was kind of the consensus of who they were going to go with, and they stuck with this, and there wasn't a JJ Redick hire or something like that, which, by the way, I think is going to be a complete disaster for LA. I'm okay with that because I feel like it was a well-informed, probably analytically driven decision, which is what we need. Now, do you think it was important that they got a coach with head coaching experience? So it's not an assistant, it's not a guy out of college. So when you say you have Mitchell waving off the coach, he might do that with a younger guy, but do you think it's important that we have a guy with experience that maybe he won't do that with, that he can't kind of roll over?
Yes, absolutely. I think that you have to have that. And you've got to. It's a respect factor. It's a respect factor. And again, there were questions that came out. I mean, you saw the story that came out in the Athletic immediately after the season ended. That apparently there were people who are going, "What the heck did we just do?" or "What are we up to?" And that's just not a good look. I'm looking here at Kenny Atkinson's coaching career. His resume as a head coach is not phenomenal. He's head coach for let's see, 308 games. His record was 118 wins, 190 losses. Um, and he's only been in the playoffs one season. That was in the 2018-2019 season with the Brooklyn Nets. They went 52-50, and they lost in the first round. They got taken out 4-1, but that was an improvement. He went from a team, and everything I've read, Mike, and you can back me up and tell me if I'm wrong. He came into a situation where the Nets had no picks. They had traded everybody away to try and get or they got Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce. It was an awful situation. He goes from 20-62 to 28-54 to 42-40. And then the next season he's at 28-34, and you have the whole Durant Kyrie thing, and that was a mess. Those guys are, I don't know. So he got ousted there, goes to the Clippers for a season as an assistant, and spends the last 3 seasons as an assistant for Steve Kerr in Golden State. I think he probably learned a lot there, and he's learned a lot in his other time. Working for the Knicks, working for Atlanta, and for the Hawks, and even read an article that Terry Pluto wrote, talking about he had a conversation with Mike Fratello and some international coaching when Fratello was hired to coach the Ukrainian team, and Atkinson was an assistant, and just how involved he was, and the energy and the connection, and that speaks of volumes.
Yeah. Now, and speaking of that too, I was thinking, how much experience did JB have coming into the job? I think he was an interim coach for half a season in Houston or something like that. So he really came in with really minimal head coaching experience too. So I think Kenny Atkinson has a lot more on his resume than JB did coming in. So I guess that's a bonus to me as well. If
Yeah, definitely. And again, it's not necessarily about all of the experience. It's how do you connect with the players? Do they respect you? Can you make the critical decisions when it comes to whether it be just a, hey, look, I got to sit this guy down. This guy needs to I got to get him off the floor, or I got to put this person in, and make those critical decisions and draw up an inbounds play, or not let your guys get lackadaisical in the backcourt and get the ball stolen and blow 20-point leads on a regular basis. I think JB got a lot out of these guys. I just think that, again, it kind of devolved, and I'm hoping Atkinson can get a lot, get this team even further. And barring injuries, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens here. The next domino to fall now will be, okay, what's going to happen with, or dominoes, I should say, plural, what's going to happen with Donovan Mitchell? Then is Darius Garland, are the guys from Clutch Sports going to demand a trade? How will the Cavs respond if that's the case? What are you going to do with Mobley and Allen? With Mobley getting toward or reaching the potential for an extension, a new contract. And then you've got to think about guys like Isaac Okoro. It's all very interesting. And what's kind of funny? All of this has been going on, and maybe it's because we have like a mid-round pick. We've barely even talked about the NBA draft, which is tomorrow and Thursday. And 2 days, really? And the Thursday starts at like 4:00 in the afternoon. What kind of joke is that?
Yeah, they're trying to take a play out of the NFL playbook, but it's not the same. Not the same at all.
No, No, it's not. So I think in general, that everybody's been talking about, and in listening to it, I think it's would not be out of the realm of possibility if this team didn't come back next season, at least at the start of the season, with all four of the quote unquote core four with Mitchell, Allen, Mobley, and Garland. I would love to see if the Cavs could turn Garland more into like a Curry.
Okay.
I don't know. I know he's very ball dominant, but I'm sure there were times at in Steph's career that he was ball dominant, like a Davidson. Could you convert Garland into the guy that runs off screens, catches and shoots?
So are you saying you would like to see Garland with the team next year?
I wouldn't be completely against it as much as he frustrates the crud out of me. But
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see it in a slightly different manner. I'd like to see if somebody could get some more out of him. And if he's not if we can't get good trade value out of him, I don't want to just give him away for pennies on the dollar.
Would you give him away for a draft pick tomorrow?
Depends how high.
Top 20.
We're already in the top 20.
You don't want 2 top 20 picks?
No. Let me tell you why. Interesting you bring this up. So I just started looking through as I was out on my walk, pondering all of life's big questions here. I was looking at what really had me scratching my head. I was like, who was in the draft the year that the Cavs took Anthony Bennett number 1? And I'm looking here, number 2, Victor Oladipo. He's had a solid career. Otto Porter at 3, he's kind of underachieved for this reason.
Mm-hmm.
Cody Zeller has been mediocre at best at 4. Alex Len, is he still in the league? Nerlens Noel has been disappointing. Ben McLemore, I don't think he's a KCP. He's had a solid career. Trey Burke, he's had a pretty, solid career as well. CJ McCollum, he kind of came out of nowhere from Lehigh, the pride of Canton Glen Oak.
There you go.
There we go. No, I love what he's done. I mean, that he was definitely a huge steal there. May have been the biggest surprise out of that first round. I'm looking at it and I'm just not that impressed with what the first round had to offer. And so I think that this is not a great draft class. Let me put it that way. Maybe if it was a better draft class, if you could tell me, maybe I would say top 10. Put me in the top. Then I'm thinking about it because there's discussion that the Spurs might be interested in a guy like Garland because he certainly can work with a big, with Wembanyama. I could see him throwing up lobs and Wembanyama cramming it down with the right hand.
Sure.
So I'm not going to be upset one way or another. I'm always going to be I don't dislike him because he's a horrible person. He frustrates the crud out of me. And I don't know how much that was by the way the team was designed and what was going on and the role he was playing.
Okay. So, last question from me for the Cavs. They won 48 games last year.
Yes, sir.
We'll assume Mitchell resigns.
Okay.
We can assume whatever you want with Garland, but we'll say we keep our other 2 bigs.
Right.
Do they win more than 48 games next year?
Yes.
Okay.
They have. I am putting the over on it. I say they are a 50-week, barring injuries, barring catastrophe of all kinds of crazy injuries. I'm counting on them for 50.
I like it. I like the optimism. It's hard to argue that.
Yeah, I'm going to be positive about it. I think they've got the talent. And I'll be very curious to see what happens. Did you see that apparently OG Anunoby opted out and is an unrestricted free agent from New York? He was injured in the playoffs, hamstring issues. He's a heck of a ball player. I would not mind getting that guy on our roster. I don't know if it's possible.
I think if you dump Garland's salary, it might be possible.
Yeah, that's going to be the bigger issue. We're going to have to do something to trade him out. I was reading, what would you think I believe that this was a Chris Fedor article. Chris Fedor for the Plain Dealer for Cleveland.com was talking about the possibility, if he fell to us, of Kyle Filipowski from Duke. Where do
I
you
just like, well, I like the last name, to tell you the truth. That's
let's have a ski?
yeah. So why not? He's probably guys that have some Polish, heritage somewhere. So I'm all for him. I don't know that much about the college players this year, but I think we need to get a good defender and a 3-point shooter. And if he has those skills, I'm all for it, because that's kind of what we're missing. And if we're to believe what they say about Kenny Atkinson, and he's gonna increase the pace and help with their offensive efficiency, they really need to have some outside shooters to make that happen, because we already got the bigs in the middle and we got the guys that can drive to the rim. That's kind of what we're lacking, or that's kind of what we tried to fill last year, and we were so I would say with that. So
Yeah, and that exact you are 100% correct. You can't help guys missing shots and not being consistent. That guys can, if guys are open and they're missing shots, that's a problem. My bigger issue was how many times the action broke down and just became an ISO ball game.
yeah.
And that's what I can't stand to see. If we're missing shots, we're missing shots, but I don't think that's going to happen every night. You might have some bad shooting games, but if you're not even creating open looks, it's not going to matter.
Yeah, and that's the beautiful thing about watching like the Warriors under Steve Kerr, and even Boston this year too. There was constant movement, and it was actually it was fun to watch, but frustrating to watch, because we were playing them when they were playing so well with all that ball movement.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think we're gonna see a lot here. Hopefully we will have some more information on Kenny Atkinson in the next few days. I think he's supposed to be maybe coaching in the Olympics from what I heard and have read. And we'll see what the draft brings and if there's anything exciting there. And we have to break on because of amazing news that I don't know. We signed some guy from somewhere who used to have a dad, and anyway, no, it'll be very interesting to see what happens. I was gonna ask you, and I would feel bad if I missed out on this. So, when did the hot dog race scandal break while you were at the ballpark?
No,
Or was that Friday night?
no, we had Onion win the hot dog race for us, because Mustard tried to steal Ketchup's purse, or maybe it was the other way around. I think it was that was the way. So Onion won, but I don't think that was the scandal that you're talking about.
Yes, Dre Knott at the center of this, breaking out the rule book. They had, I think I saw Tim Misney somewhere in the vicinity. That just crazy stuff. And what was interesting about them disqualifying and taking away Mustard's wins this season is that I was watching the game against the Orioles last night, and their Mustard hot dog won their race, and it looked like it was getting off to a little bit of an early start there. I don't know. This might be a whole Mustard conspiracy here across all of baseball. I'd like to find out what everybody's records are, if they coordinate these efforts, what it was. But I just kind of going back to the ballpark experience, how great is it? All the things they do and the way they keep fans engaged. You talked about the antics in the hot dog race. The night we were there, they had Moondog and Chomps out there as well. And then they brought out a squirrel mascot, and it distracted Chomps and Moondog, and then Moondog and Chomps ended up interfering with Onion and Ketchup, and Mustard won. It was a whole thing. So
That's fantastic. The one thing I do miss from old time baseball, though, with talking about the antics and stuff, is how the little cart they used to drive from the bullpen to the pitcher's mound to deliver the pitcher. Why can't we have that anymore? That's what I want them to bring back.
I think so, and it must be the one from Major League.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely got to do that. And I'll share one other story from my trip to Progressive Field. So I don't know if I'm upset about this or I'm glad about this. So I take the kids, as I mentioned, to go get ice cream, and it's about the middle of the fifth inning or thereabouts, and we had eaten something earlier on in the game, and I saw Jose at bat. And we're watching the concourse, listening to Tom Hamilton, and there's a foul ball by Ramirez. And I look at it down the right field line. I'm like, huh, that looks kind of close to where we were sitting. Don't think much of it. We get back to our seats. My dad's like, oh, well, you were lucky that you were not here because it would have been right where Allie was sitting. And I'm like, yeah, I'm kind of glad that we weren't there because I would have been afraid of like if none of us would have been able to get to it or whatever it is. But then I'm like, how did I'm talking to my dad. I'm like, Dad, what are you doing? You didn't get the foul ball. Like you didn't reach over, put your hat out, do something. I think my brother's next to him. I'm like, what are you guys doing? And the person behind them, got it. I'm like, oh man, I have never caught a foul ball at a major league game. I got a couple for the kids at a college summer league, the Wilmington Sharks. A few years ago, I was able to beat out some kids to some foul balls, and I got on my horse to get those too.
I hope you're pushing them out of the way. You're bigger than them. Use that size.
Yes, that's what I was thinking. That's definitely what I was thinking. But yeah, so anyway, I digress on that. So Mike, we're getting toward the end here. Looks like the Guardians are hanging on right now, 8-6 in the bottom of the 5th.
You got it.
All right. Well, we'll have to get to that here momentarily. But why don't you tell us what you're feeling a little too old for this week?
Well, when we went to the game on Saturday, they had a post-game concert by Shaquille O'Neal, aka DJ Diesel. And so, me 20 years ago would have stayed and enjoyed that concert and been really happy. But what I was excited about, because they had a concert this time, is everybody else staying. So I got to leave the stadium and beat the traffic home, which makes me think that I'm too old for that.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm like, yes, beat the traffic. All right. Yeah. Well, I agree with you right there. And in my I'm too old for this moment, I kind of shared this a little bit earlier, but again, it has to do with the seeing all the people around the ballpark. Not that I'm not happy that they're there and having a good time, but I'm like, are they really into the ball game? Are they here to watch? Or are they here to drink beer? And it's just kind of, to me, it took a little bit away from the experience, at least what we know. But again, we are not in that age bracket anymore, sadly, and that's how I know I'm too old for this. I am getting too old for this. And so now, Mike, why don't you tell us what has you going nuclear this week?
All right. Well, like I told you, we went to the game Saturday and it was a last minute trip. So I had to get my tickets through StubHub because it was already a sold out game. So I go to get my tickets. They were $41, which is okay. Not great. I'm sure I paid over market value for the tickets, but that's fine. But I go to hit checkout and the tickets now cost $60 because there's $19 of fees for the tickets. So a third of the tickets were fees. And I click on the more information about what these fees are for, and it was to improve user experience. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. So that has me going nuclear. I just want to go down to the stadium, see the scalper on the, standing outside the third baseline and give him a 20 and get my paper tickets like I used to. I guess that's a twofer. I'm too old for this and going nuclear.
Yes, it is. I like that though, but I completely understand that. The sticker shock. I guess I was fortunate that the game that we went to was not sold out, and I actually went to the Guardians website and purchased it through the site. We got the tickets were $39. They were the fee or was $6 a ticket. So it ended up being $45 ticket. Not bad at all. I mean, for sitting down in the right field corner, it really wasn't too bad. That was pretty good. But
can you even go to the box office and buy tickets anymore?
See, and that's where there was some confusion. My understanding was that if you go to the box office, first of all, it's all cashless. So you have to use like a smartphone and pay, and then you got to have it in the app because I had heard some story about this. But then as we were walking to the stadium, We were walking from, we took the rapid down and came up from Tower City and into into the Rocket Mortgage Field House, and then up, and we're walking behind the scoreboard, down that road, because then we had to go over to the other gates where we were meeting my brother. And I saw there was a stand there to buy tickets, but there was an app, and I don't know the whole story, and I'm not there, so I couldn't grasp all of what's going on here. But I swear I saw someone sitting in their seat in front of me that was holding a paper ticket. So I don't know. Can I please go to Kaufman's, to the Ticketmaster outlet, and get my tickets up there? On a
Right.
that's how old I am.
Yeah.
Oh boy, wow.
Yeah.
Well, what has me going nuclear this week is when you're traveling on the highway and you're doing a nice clip, and all of a sudden some truck driver decides, oh, I gotta pass this other truck. So they proceed to move into the left lane, and it's only 2 lanes at this point. They move into the left lane, and about 10 minutes later, they finally pass the truck that they were so eager to get by. And all the meantime, you've had to slow down to like below the speed limit just so they could get by this one truck. Absolutely gets me going nuclear every time when I'm making good time and moving along, and these clowns decide to do that. I'm just, yeah, that's a foul.
I can understand that. I can definitely understand that.
That is definitely a foul. But sometimes, is it really? Do you have to put yourself into that mode of what's the hurry?
Yeah.
What's this 1 or 2 minutes or whatever it is? I think that for me, it's the principle of the matter. It is the principle of the matter. And with that, Mike, I think that's going to do it for us tonight. Appreciate you as always.
And same to you. Thanks for having me on yet again.
Appreciate Carter joining us here this evening, and we'll look forward to more appearances. We will definitely have to get the kids in. We're gonna pepper them with some questions. It'll be good times here. So until next time, for Mike Rasinski, I'm Ethan Greenberg, and you've been watching Going Nuclear.